everyone. We'll be doing the summary for American Spy for your English CA tomorrow. Let's start. So what's so important in these two pages is the in page 152, the Steuben is training the soldiers to march, right? And it's not too slow, it's not too quick, and they're not becoming breathless. What does winded mean here? Is that they're not becoming breathless. Lafayette nodded and watched the soldiers halted another. So what is happening here is that as Steuben is giving them an order, they are listening. And even if it's sudden, they're listening to it, and he watched in amazement that the way they were loading the rifles and they were firing them. And now another thing that's very surprising to him is that instead of going when they're loading the rifles, instead of going through a whole 17 steps, they're just going to 9 steps, which is of course going to help them fire faster. And he's very excited, and he's saying, like, look how fast, think about the time that's going to take on the battlefield. So within a week, all the officers in the Valley Fort, they were training according to Subban's directions. The shout of orders and coordinated tramps of feet marching in unison resounded throughout the camp, so they were very happy about that. Now on the next page, 153, having something to do, they were very happy, the soldiers as well, because they were doing something. Lafayette was very pleased that the way his men were being trained, and he discussed it with General Washington. So now there's General Washington, Lafayette, and they're talking to each other. So as they sat next to a small fire, it was winter at that time, so it wasn't really warming the whole place, and they started talking. So General Lafayette was telling him that how well Steuben is training everyone, and his skills were really improved, and the steps were very good, and best of all, of course, the loading time has reduced. So he was very happy, and he was telling General Washington about this. Now, how did General Washington and Lafayette become very close? Is because someone was trying to overthrow Washington, and they tried to get Lafayette into the plan, but he refused. So that's what made him close to Lafayette. You're always correct, Sir. Lafayette concurred. Do you have any ideas? I know your favorite element of surprise. So he's always talking about the way they are talking about different strategies. And just look at how successful that proved to be at Trenton last Christmas. So I have a few thoughts. Washington began slowly, but I can tell you, like, he has some information, but doesn't want to really share a lot right now. So what is he saying is that we need to focus on gathering information. And Lafayette is saying, what do you mean by that? He says spies. Now, he goes on and he talks about, he's looking at Lafayette and he's saying that how boyish he is. He has like boyish enthusiasm. He's not very serious. So have you heard about, he tells the story about Nathan Hall. Now, Nathan Hale, sorry, he's telling him that there was a spy who went to the British, and he acted as a teacher, as a schoolmaster. What happened is that when the Americans took over that place, when of course he provided information, Nathan Hall, the Americans reached that place and they burned down the village. When they burned down the village, the British, they started looking for people who weren't one of them to find out who's actually spying on them and who is giving information to the Americans. They found out there were some notes. He had written down some notes, Nathan Hall. He hid them in his shoes. And when they found that out, they hanged him. And what was his last words is that he said that the only thing I regret is that I only have one life that I can give to my country. So he said even if he had, like, if he's born again, he would again, fight for his country. The next thing, and puts his hand gently on the younger man's knee, he's saying that, of course, whenever you talk about spies are more important than, not important, but they hold more value, and it's a more dangerous work, because once they are, they're caught, the cost of their failure is that they die. They're certainly, they're killed immediately. So it takes a lot of bravery and intelligence. So we will use spies. So he says, even if we do use spies, it will be in very critical situations and very intelligently. And we will provide them invisible ink and code, so whatever happened with Nathan, it wouldn't happen again. So remember, if we ask someone to risk their life in this fashion, we should realize how serious it is. Lafayette nodded somberly. I remember, General. Convinced the younger man understood the gravity, he had like a small smile on his face, because he understood that, now we can speak more about other things. Happily, we had some other successful agents, and he started talking about a lady, Lydia Durag. When British, they occupied a place in the city, what happened is that they took over her house, and there was a room in her house. What they used to do is that they used to listen about the plans of the British through, there was a crack in the floor, and they used to listen through plans in that way. And the husband would write up some information in shorthand, and they used to hide those notes in her son's button. So inside the button, she used to hide the notes. And the son, they used to go and visit his brother, Lydia's brother, who was a lieutenant. So it means all of those secrets were being leaked. So Lafayette smiled once more and he listened to Washington's stories. So now we're going to April 30th, Valley Forge again, Washington. Though his men has faced hardships, hunger had passed through it. Their skills, honed by Steuben's new strategy, were sharp, and they were eager for action. So what is happening here is that they are very eager. They want to start fighting. Washington, several plots, like there were a lot of people that were actually trying to kill Washington. So there were a lot of plans to remove Washington in from power. So, however, the war was still far from over. The war was continuing. Several diversions had broken out. So he's talking about right now a lot of things that has diverted him from the war. So one thing is that his wife came to stay with him in the stone house where he was, and there was General Charles Lee who came recently freed from British captivity, and he in an exchange in exchange with the gloomy predictions about, and he was very upset. So British captive, when he was there, he was very upset about the outcome of the British and American War and about the leaderships of Washington. Benton Arnold was still semi-invalid. And how did it become semi-invalid? It's because Benedict Arnold, he actually hosted a huge, like a lavish banquet where he had taken, where did he get all of this food? It's not that he paid from his own pocket. He actually took the food from the army stores, which were already very less. So, and who did he do this lavish banquet for? A select, like around a group of 20. So the army was very upset because they were starving, they were not having, food, and this person is going and having a big party for a selected few people. So he was also like, he had to rebuke Arnold like severely, like high, what can you say? Like they had to punish him. This other problems had passed. Now Washington sat at his desk with the window open. He allowed some warmth to come in because spring was there. He read some pleasure from John Paul Jones from the capture of his 7 British ships. So that's also a win for him, that he got 7 British ships. The wily old fox Franklin knew that he was doing, and he had given command of sloop Ranger to the young fireman. Jones had impressed everyone both sides. So now this person, he has impressed everyone and shocked everyone from the British and from the American. So that's why they're saying both South Atlantic naval victories. Hearing a common commotion through the open window, Washington looked up at his paper to see Lafayette. Now Lafayette was very happy. He was running towards him. And he was like, "My general, the best of news," he cried as he burst into the office. So now what was that news is that Washington, who had risen to see with all the excitement, was about found himself in embrace. Now, what happened is that Lafayette comes in and he's very happy and he comes and hugs the Washington. To his astonishment, Lafayette then kisses. So he kisses him on both cheeks. He said that the French have joined alliances with the American. Now, why is that a very happy thing for Lafayette? Because Lafayette is French, as you know from previous we have read. So Washington also, he's so happy that he hugs him back. Let's see what happens next. General Washington, he signed and he rubs the back of his aching neck. He was tired after spending several hours working on the speech. So he was also trying to get on board the Indians, given a gift to the Delaware or Lanny Labe. So he was also trying, like, we need more alliances, we need more people to join us. He's saying, "I'm tired of sitting in the Valley Forge, and because of the weather and everything. Now the food has gotten better. There was more variation and abundance, and the soldiers, they were getting more food from the forest and the streams." Washington, however, chafed at the inactivity. Steuben training had been a godsend. He said, like, Steuben has been really good. Again, the name Steuben, if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, it's here. He was a godsend, and he was, training them really well. And the men also, because they had something to do and their winter has passed better, the ordeal had forged a new camaraderie. Now the soldiers, they became better friends, and everyone wanted to start fighting. They wanted, they were very impatient, and everyone wanted to start fighting again. Soon enough daydreaming, Washington chided himself. Now, the letter that he wrote, he's going to read that. "So, brothers, I am a warrior. My words are few and plain, but I'll make a good what I say. It is my business to destroy all the enemies of the state and protect their friends." So, why is he saying that? He's saying that because I will destroy the enemies of of America, and I will protect everyone who is friends with us. You have seen that how now, of course, he's going to say how good the American have been and how great their armies have been to allow like so much victory. Now he's going to talk about his victories, that how what remains of them in this part of great country. He says that we have make them run away from America, and they only stay upon 2 or 3 lands. And why are they also on those lands? Because of the water. and the ships that are not allowing them to go, like the ships that are hinder us from going to destroy them. So their ships in the water is the only thing that's stopping them from destroying the British. The English brothers are boasting people. They talk of a great deal, but they do very little. So he's talking like he's belittling the British. He's saying bad things about the British. They fly away on their ships. So he's saying they always run away when our ships or our people they come to those areas where the British is on. They took Boston, Philadelphia, two our greatest towns. So they took their greatest towns, but when they saw the Americans, they were forced to run away. Brothers, we still have lately fought the English alone. He's saying until now we have fought the English alone, but now we have the great King of France who is joining us. He has taken up hatchet with us, and we have sworn never to bury it till we have punished the British and made them sorry for all the wicked things. So he's saying that we will continue fighting the British until we are victorious. And then there was other great kings and nations on the other side of big water who love us, wish us well, and will not suffer the English to hurt us. So satisfied, now he was very happy, so he put some sand on the wet ink, and we continue. So this is just the letter that he gave, that he's writing to the Delaware or Lanny Lape to convince them to join as well. Another is that here, what are we going to read about, is John Andre looked about his proprietary pride with everything as he imagined it would be. The decoration, so they were actually doing a party. Now, who are they doing the party? And the theme was that they did was Italian. So they were doing this, and it was on the place of Thomas Wharton's Walnut Grove estate. Now, why the reason for this party was that General Howe had already arrived on lavishly decorated barge. So the general had been festive move ever since he resigned, and Sir Henry Clinton was the one taking over the British and the Philadelphia. So handing over Philadelphia and British troops who were going under Sir Henry Clinton, and General Howe had resigned. This was his last big party, and he wanted to be that great one. So Don Andre was also trying to try to butter him up, and watched the General Howe and group of officers as they walked in, and they passed beneath a triumphal arch. So there was an arc, like you can see, there was a triumphal arc like this, and there were some. You can see these pillars. These are like this, so they were very beautiful. It was designed according to the Italian style. They passed and they paused, and they were looking at how everything is beautiful. So, a tournament field had been set up for the British and American queens of beauty. However, how we accepted a wreath. So, a wreath, sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but it's like with flowers. It's like decorated with flowers. And he accepted that, composed to flatter. And why did he do that? Because Andre wanted to, butter Howie up even more. Then he and his friends' party took their seats for the main event of the day. So seven medieval knights. Now what happens here is that an act is happening where seven medieval knights come in crimson and white silk, mounted on grey horses. They appear to be claiming they call themselves the Knight of Blended Horses. And then another seven more knights come, and they're on black horses wearing black and orange, and call themselves the Knights of Burning Mountains. The two factions launch into a mock battle, like they're having like a fake battle. And for what? For the favors of 14 damsels of honor. So they are 14 girls, prettiest young ladies in Philadelphia for them. So yes, Andre thought, and he mentions here, like they introduced a new person called Peggy Shippen, who's very beautiful and she's young. And he said that in the previous parties, she has been, the highlight of the parties, and he hoped that she would be here. It's not fair. Now we're going to the scene where Peggy Shippen is talking to her mom because they haven't allowed her to go to the party. So she's crying, and she's complaining to her mother that I should have been there. There, dear, said her mother soothingly. Your father knows best. So she's saying that your father knows best. It's okay. You shouldn't go to this party. So what does she say ahead? But how will I ever? So she's complaining that how will I ever find a husband if my dad doesn't allow me to go? So she says that a person like you, who is so pretty, shouldn't worry about these things. So Peggy sniffed and wiped her eyes, and then she says at the end that I will get married I'll get married and I'll do whatever I want and I'll live in a big house. After that, the festivities held in honor of the new American military governor. So now there is another party in America for a military governor. It was not as good as John Andrews' event, but they were festive and well intended. Many of the town's elite were anxious to prove their loyalty to the patriot cause. Now the General Clinton had abandoned the city. So General Clinton had left the city here, and all of the elites are coming. So the new general, they can say that we're with you. Benedict Arnold was in a foul temper anyways, and he was very upset because he thought that they didn't. And remember, Benedict Arnold is the same person who was initially he had a banquet He had a party with like very little army, like they didn't have a lot of food, and he was throwing this party for a selected few 20 people. So the army was very upset with him. So his leg was still pained him, and his stomach hurt nearly all the time now. Why was he mentioning these things? Because all of these things happened while he was fighting for America. So Arnold was bitter as he had not received promotions or any acclaims, no parties, and everything. Now he goes ahead. Those ingrates haven't even paid me for most of my service, thought the hero of Saratoga. I built up a naval fleet. So now he's talking about all of his achievements, that he built up a naval fleet. He fought off the British at Valcour Island and won the Battle of Saratoga. He rubbed his sore leg and now 2 inches short than the other. So now because his leg has become bent, permanently bent, his leg one is shorter than the other. No, my trauma and sacrifices mean nothing to Congress. Why I almost made Quebec part of America, what I did get in return. Gates and those other morons get the position. So he's talking about everyone else that got the position, but he didn't. Arnold frowned as he sipped some wine, and the wine was so good that he forgot about all his problems. Now, what does he remember again is that he has a lot of lawsuits against him, and he keeps fighting them. And if he loses them, the finances that he has right now, he will also lose them. So he's saying so many worries. He sighed and barely listened. So now what happened, as his host introduced, now what happened, his host was introducing him to the people of the town. Arnold looked up over the hedge of his wine glass and was transfixed. So now what is happening? He looks up from his wine glass and he sees someone very beautiful. And who is that? Peggy Shippen. So let's go ahead. Peggy peered out in the small window of her bedroom. So now what is happening? Now Peggy Shippen and Arnold, they're seeing each other. And there was a handsome carriage. He comes in to see her and he comes again and she thought smiled. It seems her father's rejection. So now previously the father of Peggy Shippen has rejected Arnold's proposal for marriage. She had fallen in love with Arnold and Arnold used to take her everywhere, but her father, of course, because he knew about his health and about his finances, he didn't want her to marry him. Peggy rushed over to a small looking glass hung on the wall and smoothed her hair and bit her lips and pinched her cheeks to bring color. So Peggy Shippen stood partially concealed by some draperies, servant across, and so anxiously she studied her suitor's gait. And the thing is, the way he used to hide it, he actually got a gold-headed cane. So he used to walk so jauntily, he used to walk so properly that it didn't seem as if he needed the cane. So Peggy hurried out the hiding place to join her parents and their guest, ignoring the knowing smile of the servant. So now everyone was talking about this, and everyone was talking about like how the person is ill. How Arnold is ill, sorry. Judge Shippen has sat in one of the rooms and two wing chairs. So now they're serving him tea and they're, taking care of him and they're talking because, of course, in this, now they will tell you why Judge Shippen liked Arnold. Even though he didn't want him to marry his daughter, but he did like talking to him. So Arnold was intelligent and male. Moreover, Shippen was very pleased by Arnold's policy of equal treatment. So he used to treat everyone equally. The public support of many Quakers and Loyalists, whom the more radical revolutionary was determined to persecute. So there were some other people who wanted to, remove these people, the Quakers and Loyalists, from position. The fact that Joseph Reed, president of Pennsylvania, and the rabid foe of Loyalists, was seeking to have Arnold ousted by court-martial further endeared Arnold to his prospective father-in-law. So all of these things led to him, like he liked Arnold, but of course he didn't want him to marry his daughter. So again, he mentions it here that even though all of these benefits were there, he didn't want Shippen worried about his youngest daughter. He didn't want because she had been so hysterical when he told her he refused Arnold's proposal due to concern over his health and finances. Like many Quakers in Philadelphia, Shippen had carefully stayed neutral, even though that meant the new colonial government. So he stayed neutral, even though the colonial government was taking away his income and they're taking away his position. What will happen to the family, he wondered, if the British return and my daughter is actually married to a revolutionary general? So that's what also used to worry him. Because he himself, he was not taking sides. So he didn't like that his daughter will be married to a revolutionary. Let's go to the next one. This is the last page. The judge cleared his throat. Well, Governor, what is the latest news? Arnold smiled. This was opening for which he had been waiting. As it happens now, what was he going to tell them? There is a news that he bought a really big house, like a really big house for his wife. And what was it? Was a house sitting on the 99 acres of land. So this was the house that he bought for Peggy Shippen to convince the Judge Shippen, to actually, let him marry Peggy. So there you go. This is summary for you in under 20 minutes. Take care of yourselves. Good luck for